In the past, project creation could be a real pain. You have to make multiple files in the right directories and put the same boilerplate information into every file. Luckily, modern dev tools have made it much easier to create new projects, and .NET is no exception. Using the .NET CLI or the command palette in VS Code, you can quickly set up basic .NET projects that you can customize to meet your needs. In this video, we will build an understanding of the initial steps to create a new .NET project. We will walk through the process of creating a project using Visual Studio Code. If you are already familiar with using the command line, you can also create projects using the .NET New command. Let's begin by creating a new project. To create a new project, you can do it through this button here in the File Explorer if you have the C# DevKit extension installed, but I prefer to do it through the command palette. The key code there is Control-Shift-P, that's the hotkey, and you can type in .NET New Project, and that will show you an option here for this command. So if you click .NET New Project, you'll see here a list of the different types of projects you can create. Now there's a whole long list of these here, and so the main ones you're going to be interested in for doing web, you can type in .NET, create a new project. You can do it through this button here in the File Explorer if you have the Shift-P, that's the hotkey, and you can type in Shift-P, that's the hotkey, and you can type in .NET New Project, and that will show you an option here for this command. So if you click .NET New Project, you'll see here a list of the different types.
Index
Different types of projects you can create. Now there's a whole, you can type in .NET New Project, and that will show you the different types of projects you can create. Option here for this command. So if you click .NET New Project, you'll see here a list of the different types of projects you can create. Now there's a whole long list of these here, and so the main ones you're going to be interested in for doing web development are these ASP.NET Core ones and the Blazor ones, but there are a bunch of different types of projects. We're not ready for web development yet, so we're going to create a console app. And so this is an application that will work in the terminal. So I will click Console App, and then I will select a folder where I want to put that. I will put it in my Documents, and I will call this Project Console App. Hit Enter. This will have a default folder that will be created here for Console App. You could put this anywhere you want to, but I find having it in a folder named the same thing is quite useful. This will go ahead and create a bunch of folders and files. Now you're going to want to trust the author of these files or folders. So this is your computer programmatically building these files. So I'm going to say, yes, I trust the authors. And that will allow me to access these files. So these have now been created by .NET. If you don't see the folders over here, click into the File Explorer. You might be in one of these different menus. As I mentioned earlier, we create several files here. A lot of these are really complicated and would take you a long time to build manually. But at the heart of them is this program.cs file. This is where you will write your custom code. You can see here we have a single line of code. It's console.writeline hello world. This line of code calls the console.writeline function, which is a special function that writes a new line of text in the terminal. In this case, it's taking a single argument, which is the text that should be shown. this case, hello world with an exclamation point. Because this is a terminal app, it makes sense to run this using our terminal. So we can use the .NET CLI to run our program, and all we have to do is type .NET run followed by the name of our program. In this case, we'll type period backslash program.cs. A handy trick here is if you type in .NET Run, then the letter PR, and then hit Tab. Tab, it will automatically fill, and that makes it much easier. So again, you can type backslash program.cs or type backslash PR tab, and it will auto-complete that for you. And we can go ahead and run that program. And if this is the first time you've run that, it's going to take a second because it's actually building the code that will run that function. Remember, C# is a compiled language. The result of this program is you should see hello world in the terminal output. You can see it right that. If you don't, you won't see the changes. I'm using the Command S hotkey there. And let's run that one more time. And this time you see hello.net. By following these steps, you've officially written your first .NET code. This is an important milestone as you continue your journey towards becoming a developer. Well done. Imagine you've just laid the foundation for a new building. Before adding walls and windows, you need to ensure the blueprints align align perfectly with your vision. In the same way, configuring the initial settings is a crucial step when starting a new .NET project to ensure everything runs smoothly. In this video, we will configure initial project settings. The first place we will search is our csproj file. The name of the file will match the name you specified when you built the project. This is a special file that defines how your project should handle running, testing, building, and other types of configuration. We have a relatively basic setup here, so this is quite simple. You may see much more complicated csproj files in the future. The data in a csproj file uses XML, a format for organizing and storing data in a text format that is both human readable and machine readable. The text between angle brackets is called a tag. Tags come in pairs, an opening tag and a closing tag. The closing tag begins with a backslash. Some information goes between the tags. You can see here you can nest tags in other tags. This output type tag has a value inside that is just simply text, in this case exe. Tags can also have parameters. The first tag we encounter here is the project tag with the attribute SDK equals Microsoft.NET SDK. So this is what's setting metadata. So this isn't actually the data that's held inside the tags. This is sort of data about that data. So this is another way that you can encode information in XML. You can put values between the tags. You can have these attributes that live within the tag itself. This tells a tool called MS Build what kind of project you're working on. If this is a web project, you might find .sdk.web instead of just .sdk. Or if it was a desktop application, you might find sdk.windows desktop. Another important piece of information is the target framework, which in this case is .NET 8.0, which means this uses .NET version 8, which is the latest stable version as of the recording of this video. If you wanted to use a different version of .NET, this is where that would be specified. In the future, it will likely be .NET 9 and beyond. Using a tool like C# DevKit to scaffold out these files has given us a great starting point. You often won't need to worry about modifying your csproj file. It's useful to know what's in here, but don't worry too much about knowing exactly what all of these things do. If you ever need to find something specific, you can research it later. So that is the first place where you will see configuration in a .NET project. Next, we might want to add packages. Packages are pre-written code that you can utilize in your project. Packages in .NET ecosystem are added by a piece of software called NuGet. So if we look here in our program CS file, you'll see that we have a relatively basic console app. It just has this single console.writeline with hello world. I like what we have so far, but I'd like to change the color of the output text. To accomplish that, let's use a package called Pastel. If we open up the command palette, let's see if we can find a way to add a NuGet package. NuGet is spelled N-U-G-E-T, so let's type add NuGet to see what's here. Hey, there's the command we want right there. NuGet add NuGet package. The package is called Pastel, so let's type that into this search bar and hit enter, and it will run a search for Pastel. And here is the first one we want, this Pastel option right at the top of the list of returned packages. Next, it will ask us to select the version. At this point, 5.1.0 is the latest, but if you want a different version, or if in the future there's a newer version, you can go ahead and select that. If you're following along with this code, it's best to use the exact same version in case the code changes. Now, if we go over to our csproj file, you should see something new. This item group with package reference include Pastel version 5.1.0. This is showing us that we have installed the Pastel package and that is a dependency of this project. So that means that is a piece of code that our code is now going to rely on. First, we'll go into our program.cs file and select just after the closing double quotes. I'll type in period, then capital P-A-S, And you can see here it's starting to autocomplete to pastel. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And I could just type this in, but if I click here, it's going to do something really useful. If I click that, you'll see it added this using pastel. This is going to provide us with the import for this package. That means that our code now understands where pastel is coming from. It's coming from an external package or library. Next, let's open up some parentheses. And if I type in color dot green, and mind the capitalization here, you need a capital C with color and a capital G with green, or this code won't work correctly. Again, we can use IntelliSense here. It's showing us all of the different options for colors that start with green or have green in their name. In this case, I'm going to choose light green, but you can choose any color you like. Again, make sure to use capitalization, otherwise this code will not work correctly. Now, if I save my file and open up a terminal again, now if I type .NET run and then add my program file to the end of that file and open up a terminal again, now if I type .NET run and then add my program file to the end of that. So .NET run period / program.cs and hit enter. You should see the output here, which is hello world now in light green instead of that light gray color. Excellent. Our project is really coming along. Thanks to our knowledge of the CS proj file and adding an external package like Pastel.